Coach, we interviewed last year. We went to a couple of the games. How are you feeling, man, going into this event for the Corky Kell?
A little anxious. I think that we have a lot of high expectations at Grayson in general, but especially this year, coming off of a 10-4 semi-team with a bunch of kids back, and you got some recruitable kids that are committed. So there's a lot of that going on. So if we can gain some focus and really lock in on the task at hand and kind of tune out that noise of everybody else, I think we got a shot to be pretty competitive.
Yes, sir. And tell me a little bit about the trenches. How many people were you able to return on the offensive and the kind of defensive lines
so
this season?
We return. We're going to be 3 starters up front on the offensive line. All 3 starters on the defensive line played last year.
Sure.
Our backups on the defensive line played last year.
Yep.
We feel really good about – we'll have an 8-man rotation on the defensive line, and then we got an 8-man rotation on the offensive line. So
sure.
we feel like we don't have a ton of depth at other spots, but up front we feel like we can play some kids.
Yes, sir. And I remember last year we were talking and you had to play a lot of youth last year. And how did you think they stepped up in that place last year? And for those that got that other extra year under their belt, what are you expecting from them this year?
Well, we're still young. I tell people that I know that people get tired of hearing the we're young comment, but we are. We're experienced, but if you look out there on the field, you're still going to start probably 4 rising sophomores and probably 7 or 8 total rising juniors, maybe even 10. So, as far as youth, is their academic year,
yep.
But they're experienced because they played so much last year. When you had those, we did hit a little stride right there in the playoffs and was able to play 4 extra games essentially,
sure.
and so that was good for those young guys. And the way we do things at our place is, as the season goes on, we bring up those 9s and they get involved in special teams and all that stuff. So we're hoping that the bins and the whole atmosphere of that is not overwhelming for those kids because they've played in big time games before. So again, we do have a youth movement a little bit, but our senior class will be the one that leads us. It's a class of 34 that have been. This is my senior class. These are my guys, and so they've been with me now. This is their 4th year, and so I'm excited just to go out there and watch their maturity and how they've grown as football players.
Yes, sir. Just a couple more questions. As far as your QB situation, I know you started last year, JoJo Stone, then you had your other quarterback kind of come in and kind of spell them a little bit.
Yep.
What can we look forward to the quarterback position this year?
It is still a position battle up to this point. So we got a scrimmage Friday night against Paulding County that we're going to play 2, maybe 3 different kids. And kind of see where we're at after the scrimmage. We grade our kids every day in practice and look at stats and look at how they're handling stuff and how they're learning. And so hopefully we have a little bit clearer picture after Paulding County. But we're going to rotate 2 or 3 of them on Friday and see what we get.
And how has the competition just been?
It's good. I mean, it's a competition between a couple of kids that they just want to do whatever they can do to help us win. It's not one of those deals where there's any animosity. There's none of that kind of stuff, no bickering, none of that stuff. And they've split reps since spring. And so we split reps in summer. We split reps in 707 competitions. We just split it, and we feel like we got a pretty good handle on how to rotate those kids to make sure they get an opportunity again in the scrimmage to play with both, play with our TAC guys, which would be our starters essentially. So they both get reps with those guys and kind of see where we're at the end of it.
Yes, sir. Any impact players we should be looking out for this season on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to look offensively. For me, up front, Hadeen Diaby, our left tackle, just committed to Tennessee State. I think he's one of those underrated kids. Caden High is a slot receiver for us. He's a senior. He's different. He's different. He can flat out play. Our 2 running backs, Joe Taylor and Dylan Elder, are kind of what makes us go with that offensive line. Defensively, we've got some kids up there. Jalen Smith, who I brought here today, Tennessee commit, had 170 tackles last year. So I'm lucky to have him back.
Yes, sir.
Secondary-wise, all these kids played last year and started at some point in time in the season last year.
Yep.
So, when we feel good about it. But, I think that our biggest thing is it'll have to be a team effort for us. There's not going to be one kid that can change just the whole season for us like some folks have. So ours is going to be more of a team type season, and if we can get that mentality, we'll be fine.
And last question, just to wrap us up, define for me this is a successful season for Grayson this year.
We got to be at Georgia State.